My name is Christy Higginbotham. I'm the Programs Administrator for SWACO, which is the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio, and I am happy to be here today to tell you a little bit more about our grant programs. But first, before I jump into the grant details, I'm just going to quickly share with you a little bit more about who SWACO is and our mission and some of the programs that we offer for those of you that may not be aware. We are a public agency. We're one of 52 solid waste management districts in the state of Ohio. We were established under a House bill that created these districts. And SWACO is unique in the sense that we own and operate a public landfill in addition to being a solid waste district. Most solid waste districts do not own and operate landfills. So we have kind of two sides. We have our innovation and programs side, which administers our programs for the solid waste district, all focused on waste reduction and diversion. And then we also have our operations side for the landfill. So I work as part of our innovation and programs department. And really our vision is a community that's environmentally safe and resourceful. Our mission is to improve the community's solid waste stream by offering effective waste reduction, recycling, and disposal programs. And so we strive to educate all residents and businesses in Franklin County about the importance of diverting waste from the landfill through this source reduction, recycling, and composting. And Brandy, you can go to the next slide, please. Thanks. So we've worked hard to position our region as a leader in environmental sustainability by offering a range of waste reduction and recycling programs. And, just to name a few, we work with most of the 41 communities within our jurisdiction to execute agreements with haulers that provide for curbside recycling, yard waste pickup. And so many of you may be in a community where you now have these nice large recycling carts as part of your program. And so we've worked with a lot of communities in creating those contracts. We also sponsor free yard waste composting for Franklin County residents. We provide free household hazardous waste disposal to Franklin County residents. And then in terms of outreach and education, we do lots of landfill tours for students and the general public. Each year, those have been suspended during COVID, but right now we are working to develop a plan to start those back up again. And similarly with the schools, we also offer a suite of resources for teachers and students focused on implementing sustainable recycling programs, as well as food waste prevention and diversion programs. And we have a similar program where we help them to contract for recycling services at schools. So now, Brandy, if you can go to the next slide, please. I'll share a little bit about these grant programs. And I'm going to focus on the Community Waste Reduction Grant Program for today, but I do want to quickly mention that we also have an event waste reduction program. And typically they run on different application cycles. This year's kind of an anomaly because of COVID. And so we're currently running both of these programs and accepting applications for both of them right now. And the deadline to apply under either one of these grant programs is August 6th, Friday, August 6th by 5 p.m. And typically, again, they run on different grant cycles. So I expect next year we'll get back to the normal cycles. But the Community Waste Reduction Grant is always launched right around Earth Day. And then potential applicants have the ability to submit applications typically until like mid-March every year. But both of these programs fall under our Innovation and Programs Department. It's part of what we do as a solid waste district. And they're both focused on building collaborative partnerships that impact and improve the waste stream also leveraging it for economic benefit while contributing to a safe and healthy community. So again, I'll focus more on community waste reduction today. But with this program, we are encouraging innovative ideas that significantly reduce waste and increase the diversion of recoverable materials. And so any proposed project has to specifically divert material from our landfill, so Franklin County Sanitary Landfill. And so we are very engaged with potential applicants throughout our application cycle. If you have ideas, if you're interested in possibly applying, I always encourage people to reach out to me first to have a conversation so that we can learn a little bit more about your ideas and see if it's a good fit for this program. And ensure that, you know, kind of your activities and goals align with the purpose of this program. And so, you know, it's through this process that I hope to identify unique opportunities for materials diversion and funding sustainable projects. And so that's not to say that we don't fund pilot programs, but ultimately, the goal would be to learn from a pilot program to develop a more sustainable program. And so the other thing that we kind of look at is are the projects being proposed designed to be replicable and scalable that could serve as a model to others. And so we take really kind of a hands-on approach to this program, and we have a lot of expertise and technical assistance that we can bring to the table to help advise and guide and help our recipients implement successful programs. So Brandy, next slide, please. Thank you. And so we launched this program in 2016, really, it's, you know, again, to help support our mission to divert materials, again, emphasizing projects that create partnerships and building collaboration. And looks like someone's not seeing the slides. I don't know if you can see that, Brandy. And we really just
everyone else is, yeah, I'm not.
Okay. That's interesting.
Thanks.
Yes, sure, Lynn. And so, you know, we really just want this program to serve as a catalyst to support unique programs and projects that align with our program of work. And again, helping to establish and develop programs that can be modeled and sustained throughout the district. So that's not to say that we don't support, you know, kind of like the average recycling program. We do, and we've supported many projects, and you know, we view those as opportunities as well. You know, probably most of you know, recycling can be complicated, and just kind of going back to the technical expertise that we bring to the table and the experience that we have, you know, we work with applicants to help develop these programs with best practices in mind, right? So, you know, you're placing your landfill and your recycling containers side by side. They're color coded. They've got good signage, those kinds of things. And so again, we're just working with folks kind of all along the way that are interested in participating in this program. Next slide, please, Brandy. Thanks. So these grants are competitively awarded. It's a competitive grant program open to communities, schools, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations. You can apply for a minimum of $500 and up to $35,000. And we do require a 25% cash match as part of your application. And so in the chat, I provided a link to the specific community waste reduction grant webpage. I'll also mention that we are having a webinar, an informational webinar, where you can learn more. I'll go into greater detail during this webinar next Wednesday at 2 p.m. And there's a link on that webpage too, where you can register for that webinar as well. But you can download the application package via that link as well. And you'll find a lot more of this detailed within that package. Next slide, please, Brandy. Thanks. So yeah, just quickly, I just kind of wanted to provide a little bit of context in terms of the dollars that have been awarded and the financial contributions. The chart on the left highlights the funding from 2017 through 2020. So we, the blue is the SWACO funding, and then the actual amount that was reimbursed. So this is a reimbursement grant, but when you look at the application package, you'll see in the finance section, the budget section of it, if you decide to apply, you can request 50% upfront funding. And so if your project is selected for funding after we execute the grant agreement, so both parties have signed it, you can submit an invoice to us for that 50% upfront funding, and then the remainder is reimbursed at the closeout of the project. So after we've received your final report and your financial documentation to reconcile everything, then we release the rest of the dollars. Okay, Brandy, next slide, please. So this slide just gives you an idea of our jurisdiction, and then also a little bit more information on just applicant eligibility. And so for this cycle, even though you might be applying in 2021, it's 4 projects that are being implemented in 2022. And there's really, this fundamental criteria that must be met in order, for an application to be considered. So again, occurring in the 2022 calendar year, you've got to be eligible. And so this program is not open to for-profit businesses. This is, again, strictly government agencies, communities, schools, parks, and nonprofits. And then also, the project and the applicant must be located within our jurisdiction. So as I mentioned, we're one of 52 solid waste districts. We are primarily Franklin County. However, if 50% or more of this community, the city, is located within Franklin County, then you're within SWACO's jurisdiction. If it's not, then or parts of it are outside of our jurisdiction, more than 50%, then you're outside of our jurisdiction. So for example, Pickerington and Lithopolis are not within our jurisdiction, but Canal Winchester, Dublin, New Albany, Reynoldsburg, and Westerville all are within our jurisdiction. And we work pretty closely with these communities as well. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just all of the grants that we've awarded since really 2017, and it's a nice slide of logos we've got here. We've awarded 44 projects to date, supporting a variety of initiatives, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few slides. Next slide, please, Brandy. So in terms of the program categories, when you look at the application package, it asks, kind of what is your area of focus? And there are 4 project categories identified under this program that include waste reduction and reuse, food waste diversion, recycling, and enhanced public awareness through targeted outreach and education activities. And so applicants can choose to implement activities in one or more of these categories. It just doesn't have to be one. And I'll say, implementing more, does oftentimes make for a more dynamic project. So that being said, outreach and education is always a part of our awarded projects. And so if I haven't talked to somebody in advance of submitting their application, and somebody submits an application which is focused on waste reduction and reuse, or diversion, very heavily diversion focused, and we want to award the project, I'll go back and say, hey, listen, we really would like for you to incorporate outreach and education as part of this. And let's figure out some ways that we can reach your participants, with clear and consistent messaging about what it is that you're doing. And we view that as a really great way too, and an opportunity for us to kind of help cultivate these sustainable projects and relationships. And so the pictures that you see on this slide are from one of our 2020 local community waste reduction grant recipients, Local Matters. And so they were awarded funding for an in-vessel composting unit. And what I liked about this one is that we also partnered with them to offer an informational webinar on, it was shopping smart to reduce food waste, and then also developing additional assets focused on food waste prevention and composting. Next slide, please, Brandy. And then, so the chart on the left shows the various activity types that we've funded. And you can see, the majority are recycling. However, you see there's a dip in 2020 in recycling, and a real big increase for food waste, which has been kind of interesting to be a part of. We have a number of communities now that are offering residential food waste drop-off sites. And so right now there are 7, and we have provided dollars for all of them. But these are areas, sites where residents, they can collect their food waste at home. So food waste is really heavy. We get about 1 million pounds of wasted food at the landfill every single day. And this is a type of a project. I've been at SWACO for 20 years, and I've never been a part of a project like this. So this is pretty innovative. That has really just taken off, and we've got tremendous community interest in this, and it's exciting to see. So I think that's probably where we've seen this increase in food waste diversion projects. But there's also outreach and education, and oftentimes that could be curriculum development or waste assessments and studies. We've funded some of that over the years. In 2020, we awarded 16 grants. 2 were canceled, unfortunately, because of COVID, but we had 4 for recycling, and that was for Habitat for Humanity, Franklin Park Conservatory, and Franklin Township. And Life Care Alliance. We had 2 outreach and education and awareness. That was Columbus Public Health and the Past Foundation. And then we had 5 food waste diversion. And so those were awarded to the cities of Upper Arlington, Dublin, Hilliard, Westerville. And then we had projects with Local Matters and Food Rescue. And then 2 reduction and reuse projects with Columbus City Schools and the Furniture Bank of Central Ohio. Next slide, please, Brandy. It looks like, Brandy, maybe you lost my the next slide that I have, slide 11.
Christy, I apologize. I'm using a preloaded slide deck here. But if you just want to kind of wrap up and summarize your programming, that would be great too.
Yeah, sure. Let me ask you, can I share my screen?
You should be able to. I apologize again if there are more slides there. I can unshare there. We're at 10:23 as well, so we'll have to move on in just a minute too. But let me unshare if you'd like to share a couple more slides there.
Yeah, let's do that. See if I can get. Yeah, so I would just say that, let's see. We do have, some ineligible and eligible items that are identified in our grant package. And so eligible items would be equipment, supplies, and professional services. You can learn more about that by downloading the application. You can also read more about the ineligible use of funding. We don't fund anything that's disposable. That's a big one, and that would even include compostable bags. We have just a table here of our 2021 recipients, just kind of give you a sense of what those projects were and the funding that was awarded for them. And then last slide, our application requirements. And so again, applications are due by August 6th by 5 p.m. It must be submitted by the entity responsible for implementing the program or the project. Yes, you can read those other two bullets. And then again, I would just encourage anyone that is interested in applying, download that application package and read through it. Please contact me to discuss your ideas. I'm available for phone calls or virtual meetings. And yeah, we're just looking forward to hearing from anyone who's interested. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christy. Really valuable information and great program that SWACO has to offer to the community. Now I'm going to switch over to our other guest presenter, Kyle Wilson with the Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District. Kyle, did you have slides that you wanted to share from your end?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share that
Okay.
now.
Great.
Is that PowerPoint showing there, Brandy?
I don't see a PowerPoint yet.
Oh, really?
And I apologize. Teams went through some recent updates, so I've noticed there's been a few glitches. So
let me try this again here.
We have our pro admin assistant, Lynn. Oh, she helped us here. Thank you so much.
All I had to do was do that.
Okay, just work your magic, Lynn. Work your magic.
Is it showing now?
It is.
It is.
Okay,
looks
great. Great. So yeah, thank you. My name is Kyle Wilson, Assistant Director with Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District. For those of you that don't know Soil and Water Conservation Districts, each county has a soil and water. They function very differently depending on the makeup of that county and the community. Obviously, being here in Franklin County, we don't focus as much on agricultural practices as others do. We have a lot of stormwater programs and restoration programs and community-based outreach programs and things like that we focus on. So we receive a lot of our funding from the Franklin County Engineers, but we are a political subdivision of the state that receives state match and community-based support through our working agreements with multiple municipalities around the county. So today we want to highlight one of our programs, the Conservation Mini Grant Program. We basically got this up and running about 9 years ago now, and it's a great, easy, sort of small focused grant process that allows communities and groups to to kind of implement those smaller, sometimes projects that don't fit into traditional grant funding opportunities. Currently, this program is administered by Sarah Ernst in our office. She's done a great job over the past few years of building this program up and helping folks develop projects and really making some good impact on Franklin County. So today we'll give a little bit of the program overview. We'll talk about some example projects, and then we'll talk about project development and how you can kind of go about that and maybe apply for this grant. So the grant highlights, again, these are smaller, relatively smaller grant opportunities. We fund up to $2,000 for implementation of on-the-ground projects. So that's very important. We want to see trees planted. We want to see rain gardens implemented. We want to see those type of things. This grant isn't designed for studying projects or paying consultants to develop a program or public outreach. These are really on-the-ground implementation projects that we're targeting. We award up to 3 grants annually, or the equivalent in that funding, so $6,000. Oftentimes, what we'll have is a applicant only apply for $1,000 to finish out a project, or due to the scope of their project, they don't need it all. So in those cases, we will sometimes award partial grants to a 4th applicant or something along those lines. So the resources for this conservation mini grant come from our conservation fund, which is a fund that we build up using donations and profits from events like our annual meeting and tree sale. So each year we do that tree and fish sale, and any profits that we receive from that go directly to funding more projects back on the ground. So eligibility and application process. Currently, the project is only open to Franklin County groups, but we're targeting nonprofit organizations, schools, watershed groups, municipalities, down to homeowners associations, condo associations, and civic associations. We make our application and eligibility as simple as possible. Over the years, with more interest in the grant, we do ask for a little bit more information and a more developed project, but we want to keep it as easy as possible, and we want to make sure that it's open to as many people as possible. So even though you can't apply for this as a private, resident, you need some sort of group or association backing you. We're not limiting it very much here due to the broad kind of categories that we've created of eligible entities. Each year, we shoot for the application period between January and February. That will sometimes be slightly adjusted. We'll get the information out in December and go ahead and open it up earlier. But typically, you look for those applications in January or February. We then do a very quick kind of turnaround on our scoring and awards of the grants. So we like to get the announcements and the awardees in line in March. That way you have the spring, if you are using the funds to do plantings, you can utilize our tree sale, or you can work with other suppliers, and you can get those in pretty quickly, and the timing works out for that application. You have essentially a year to implement the project. So once awarded, you'll have till the end of that calendar year to get the project in the ground. Of course, we do work with folks on extensions and things like that if needed, but that's the general time frame of what we like to see. It is a competitive grant. Applicants are scored based on the relative strength and adhere to our ranking criteria. Basically, we score these things based on 4 kind of categories. The environmental impact, even though beautification projects and things like that are important to the community, we really want to see some type of environmental improvement in these projects. So that can, range from removing honeysuckle to water treatment through rain gardens or a bioswale. We don't limit what you can do, but we want to see real on the ground environmental impact. It's got to have a connection to our mission, promote sustainable natural resources throughout the county. Visibility is very important. We want these in highly visible areas. So if a project is proposed for a rain garden in an individual's backyard, that might not score very well. But if that same project is proposed at the entrance of a community center in that neighborhood, that can be a lot more visible and might score better. If there's outreach and educational opportunities, those certainly are looked very favorably. Cost efficiency, we want to make sure that you're not proposing to plant 10 large trees with this. We'd much rather see more cost-effective opportunities like bare root seedlings or things like that. Or we'd like to see it built into a bigger project. So if a community has a couple $1,000s that they can spend out of their pocket, or a watershed group or something like that, or another grant opportunity they can partner with and make our mini grant funds go a little farther, we certainly take that into factor when scoring. So cost efficiency is important. So project examples. Each year we do kind of set a priority practice or a priority kind of category for what we like to see. This past year it was focused on riparian corridors and buffers around wetlands. So if we got applicants within those categories, they received some bonus points. But in general, we just want or we're open to a wide variety of opportunities. So obviously, soil and water, we do a lot of work with rain gardens and rainwater harvesting through rain barrels. So those are certainly things that have come through the door. Green roofs and retention, landscaping and gardening with native plants and trees. We've funded a couple of projects that focus on, giving examples of how you can go about landscaping a little differently, and we've had good success with that. Invasive species removal and control, that's something certainly that if you can organize a large-scale invasive removal and some supplemental tree planting, that would be a great project for this mini grant. And then, anything related to soil improvement and habitat improvement are certainly going to score well under this. So, pollinator gardens, native prairies, those types of things are all very good projects for these mini grants. And a little bit more on the project examples. If a community can retrofit an old stormwater basin, that's something that we've worked with folks on the past to do. Again, riparian buffers, bank stabilization, floodplain access issues, those types of things. Rain gardens, if you can get a community rain garden established or a bioswale, that's fantastic. And then that final photo there on the bottom right is a picture of our inserts that we've done in streams. So if you have a kind of new technology or a new practice that your organization is hoping to implement and looking for some funding resources, we love demonstration projects. So if it's something a little different, a little unique, we certainly would want to kind of explore looking at those options. So project development, we encourage you to let us help. Contact us for technical assistance. We have folks, I mentioned Sarah Ertz before, that can come out and help talk through a site for rain garden installation and what that might look like, and if it's an area that is actually compatible for that usage. We have folks with a great amount of stream and wetland background information. So contact us ahead of time, and you know, oftentimes we can come out and really talk through some of the components of what you could pursue as a project. You can also attend a question and answer session that we have. You know, of course, our next one wouldn't be till the application period is open again, so January 2022. But you can certainly, you know, get into one of those and have all your questions answered now. And again, planning now for 2022. If any of you have done projects, even small ones, you know those take time. So starting now, thinking about your projects and getting your support in place and making sure you're ready for that grant application when it does become available. Here at the last bit of the slide is a website we have, or some information we have on our website about mini grants specifically. I also posted that into the chat, so you should be able to get it there. It lists a lot more of the details than I'll cover here today about eligibility, and you can see the application and know that, you know, it's not something that's going to take you as long as applying for a 319 grant or anything like that. We're set up and designed so that, you know, folks, even if you don't have a lot of grant writing experience, you should be able to navigate this process pretty well. So again, about our 9th year, we've probably funded, you know, somewhere in the range of 25 to 30 of these projects now. And, you know, again, it's just a really good opportunity for folks seeking sort of some small implementation funds, again, on the ground. You know, we want community involvement, and that high visibility is the best option for us. So with that, I will click back over, maybe here, and stop the screen share.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Yep.
And thank you again, Christy, for presenting. Everyone give a virtual round of applause for our speakers today, or a real round of applause. I'll do that just so you can hear it and have the real effect.
Thanks, Brandy.
So I noticed, yeah, in the chat, you'll see more information with a link to the Franklin Soil and Water mini grants, as well as a link to the SWACO community waste reduction grants that Christy presented. I guess this is a good point to pause and see if there's any questions for our presenters today. And you can feel free to just unmute, or if you prefer to use the chat, you can do that as well, and I'll present the question. So I don't see anything else in the chat so far, unless I'm missing something. Okay. Well, it sounds like you both were very clear and no one had any questions, because you presented it perfectly. So there's contact information, where there's a recording if you do need to go back and get more information about the grants programs. But please, if you see an opportunity here, be sure to reach out to Kyle and Christy to learn more. These are great opportunities for your community, and they make our communities more sustainable in the long term, which is something that's important to me as the sustainability officer with MORPC. So I'm happy to hear about the work that you're both doing here. With that, if there are no questions, oh, here we go. There is a question, I think, coming up. So let me see. Okay, there's a question from Mac McCloy. It says, I came in late, but was wondering if any of your organizations provide grants that could be used toward phase 2 environmental site assessments.
We do not.
Okay.
Yeah, not with the conservation mini grant, no. And thinking through things, I'm not real sure that I've come across anything that will cover those costs either. So
I'm not sure if the OEPA does. If you haven't checked there, you might want to inquire with them, or even federal EPA.
All right. Thank you both. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? I don't see any others. I'm going to go ahead and switch over really quickly to give everyone some information in closing on our upcoming events at MORPC. So give me just a moment here and I'll switch back over to some slides here. All right, can you see those slides? All right, I think we're
Yes.
good. Great. So just a quick reminder to especially our members, the Ohio University has some advanced degree scholarships available. Members are eligible for $1,000 tuition scholarship for some of these master programs here in public administration. And more recently, they added the Master of Sustainability, Security, and Resilience certificate and degree program. So for more information, there's contact information here for Joe Wakeman. So check that out. There's also a Teams meeting to learn more. And then another great event hosted by MORPC is Harvesting a Modern Rural Government, the Public Sector of the Future, on June 22nd at 11 a.m. For more information, there's some information on the slide here. Feel free to contact us if you're interested. And then on July 13th is Cultivating Your Next Leader. So we have an outstanding lineup here of women leaders in Central Ohio, including Debbie Phillips with Rural Action, Chris Schmank, Union County Commissioner, Bren Bird, Granville Township Trustee, and Shanette Strickland with City of Reynoldsburg. So looks like a great event there as well. And then how to add zoning rules that benefit your community on August the 3rd. Another great lineup of experts here to present. And then save the date for the Social Media Best Practices Forum coming up August 4th, and that will be a virtual meeting as well, so stay tuned. And then our signature events, of course, our State of the Region, which took place at the end of April, but also the Summit on Sustainability will be coming up this fall. So stay tuned for more information and for an event date on that as well. So that concludes our program today. Thank you so much for joining us, and please take care, and please feel free to reach out if you want more information. And again, we'll have slideshows available in our recording. So happy Friday and have a good weekend, all.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.
Thank you.